Today we're at the ICC United Kingdom's annual conference in partnership with the Centre for Digital Trade and Innovation. Miriam, welcome to Trade Finance Talks TV.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Such a pleasure. So, quick introduction, who are you, where are you from, and what do you do?
Well, I'm Miriam Goldby. I'm a Professor of Shipping, Insurance and Commercial Law at the Centre for Commercial Law Studies at Queen Mary, University of London. Sorry, that's a bit of a mouthful. I've been doing research in the field of digital trade since 2003, which is a really long time. It started with my PhD thesis, which was on electronic bills of lading. And since then, I've published many papers and also a book on electronic trade documents, which has gone to its second edition.
Thank you very much, and I guess what a time to be in the area of digital trade and digital trade documents. I mean, since 2003, what's happened in the past 2 years has probably been more than what's happened in the years previous to that. So let's talk very specifically about the Electronic Trade Documents Bill. Why is it important to pass this trade bill in the UK, and can you give some of the reasons behind the creation of the bill?
Yes, absolutely. So what I've been researching, obviously, is the legal barriers to digitalization. And what the bill does is it solves what is called the possession problem by the Law Commission. Essentially, it covers documents which are used in a very specific way in international trade. Essentially, this type of document gives the person who possesses it, if that person received it as a result of being issued it, or received it pursuant to a valid transfer, it gives that person the right to claim performance of the obligation that's recorded in the document. So these are very, very important documents in international trade, and they function on the basis of possession. Now, the possession problem is that only tangible things can be possessed, and that is true of the law of many, many jurisdictions. It's almost invariably the case across the world. So the bill is there to basically recognize that electronic documents that fulfill certain criteria are capable of being possessed at English law.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just a question on the UNCITRAL, so the United Nations version of this, so the model law on electronic transferable records. That's quite hard to adopt into English law, right? And that's largely because of this possession piece and also the piece around tangible items, right?
Well, the model law was designed to solve precisely the same problem, because, as I said, this possession problem is common to many jurisdictions, and it solves it in substantially the same way. Basically, the model law says that if an electronic document is controllable, then possession requirements in the law can be met by that document. So essentially, the principles are the same. If you fulfill certain criteria and make the document controllable, that's the main criterion, then the document can satisfy the law's requirements for possession.
Sure, okay. So now the Trade Documents Bill is being passed through the House of Parliament, so the House of Lords and the House of Commons. Can you give us an update of where we're up to right now, today, in April?
Yes, so it's very exciting times. The bill has passed through the House of Lords, all the stages in the House of Lords. So it's received its final reading on the 23rd of March. And on the same day, it's moved to the Commons, and it received its first reading in the Commons. And now it's gone to the second reading, and it's it can be considered an uncontroversial bill. So the likelihood of it needing to be debated in a committee is quite low. And then after the second reading, it will be considered by the House, and it will go on to the final stages.
Thank you very much. So the bill, or the ETDB for short, what's the likelihood of it actually being used in reality, and can you give some practical use cases for the bill, given your expertise and also the length of time at which you've been researching the bill?
Okay, well, I'll try. So the bill is likely to be useful in two ways, in my view, once it becomes law. First of all, it will give predictability to stakeholders. So basically, it answers the question, if I want to set up a system that achieves certain effects, legal effects, for the purposes of UK law, how do I do it? What requirements do I need to meet? And it basically sets out these requirements. So if the bill sets out these requirements, so if the system meets those requirements, then you have some reassurance, both as a system provider and as a potential system user, that it's going to do what you want it to do legally. The second way it's going to be useful is if a dispute arises. So if a dispute arises concerning an electronic trade document, or to which an electronic trade document is relevant, then the parties to the dispute know that this document is going to be treated in the same way as its paper counterpart. And the paper counterparts have very hefty evidentiary value in legal terms. So in certain circumstances, they can be considered incontrovertible evidence of their contents. So it's really, really important to have the electronic bill, the electronic document recognized as, at law, the same as its paper counterpart.
Thank you, Miriam. Now, the ETDB, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? The ETDB aligns with the UNCITRAL MLETR, which has already been adopted in many markets: Bahrain, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, Singapore, and France, Germany, and of course the UK equivalent on its way. What are the benefits of legal harmonization in this space?
So I think the importance cannot be overstated, really, because we're talking about activities which by definition occur across borders. We're talking about international trade, international transportation of goods, and we're also talking about services that are provided to users that are operating in this international environment. So it's really important that basically legal risks are minimized by ensuring that the requirements that have to be met in the various parts of the world are substantially the same requirements, and that the legal effects of meeting those requirements are substantially the same effects. So this is why it's so important to ensure that there's quite a widespread drive towards law reform in this space. I mean, in the meantime, both the model law and the UK bill, they include conversion to paper provision. So in the model law, there's 2 articles on conversion, one in one direction, the other in the other. In the bill, they are treated in one provision, but basically the idea is, if you can't achieve the legal effects you want in this jurisdiction using the electronic document, then you have the option of switching to the paper form for those purposes. But ideally, what we want in order to have genuine digitalization across the board is for widespread law reform.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And I guess on that note of reforming UK law, Where do you think there's going to be the greatest need for focus for when it comes to academic research within this field moving forwards?
So lots of areas where unknowns remain, and those areas are ripe for academic research. I mean, as an academic, it's a privilege because we get to research whatever we want, when we want. And the years of research that preceded these reforms meant that when they needed to happen, when COVID made it really imperative that we reform the law, we could do it quickly. So the Law Commission came up with its recommendations in record time. Other areas where I think we will need to do research in the future, well, at the moment I'm researching the governance mechanisms that underpin these digitalization initiatives, which are being led by industry. So I'm trying to understand their nature and effectiveness. Another area which I think it is really important to do research in the future would be cyber risk and its potential to become systemic. So essentially we need to answer questions such as how can we prepare for a major cyber event, whether it's cyber malfunction or cyber attack. How can we best allocate these risks? How do we do it most efficiently? How do we mitigate them? And what is the role of law and regulation? So all of these things are things that I'm very much looking forward to researching in the future.
Miriam, thank you for joining us on Trade Finance Talks TV.
Well, thank you very much for having me.